Have you tried the AWS MCP server? I have, and I'm pretty excited about this. Now, it may be old news by now, but for me, this is fairly new, and I think it's really useful. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to actually use it, use some of the tools that it offers, and show you the list of all the capabilities that it has. I think it's cool, and let me show you why I think so. So for my use case, this is really helpful. The reason is that I'm a consultant. I do DevOps security consulting to tech companies, and I see a lot of different teams, and I see different architectures, different AWS setups, and jumping from project to project can be interesting, meaning sometimes when I say sometimes, usually they don't have enough documentation, they don't have architecture diagrams, they don't necessarily have someone who can help me understand the whole thing, they don't have the resources, all sorts of different stories that you hear from every company. Most companies are the same, by the way, are not a snowflake. So when I need to sit down and actually go over a project and understand the code and understand the architecture, anything that helps me is huge. Now, with code, I have LLMs, I have Cloud Code, I have Cursor, I have a lot of new ways to actually get the gist out of a repo or an architecture and actually understand it. But when they have an active account, when they have an AWS account with a big architecture, and you want to see how things fit in, and especially if you want a non-text interface, something more visual, then sometimes you need more tools. And the AWS MCP actually gives me two options. It gives me a way a non-visual way, but to chat with it and ask the questions that I may never be able to ask the client or the project. And then it also gives me a neat tool for creating diagrams. I'll show you. I know it's maybe gimmicky, but it's not really gimmicky. For me, that is a lot of help. And let me show you how that works. Before I jump into the AWS MCP server, just a couple of words about MCP servers in general. And I'm not going to show you that USB diagram. I hate it. Basically, an MCP server think of it as an extension, as a way to plug in tools into your AI chatbots or coding agents. Meaning, you have an MCP server, you set it up in, let's say, Cursor or Cloud Code or your AI agent, and you tell it, okay, this is a tool you can use. Now that could be for your Postgres server. There are other tools, MCP servers for pretty much anything. But if we take AWS MCP as an example, so they have different servers for different technologies that they have, and they basically publish and they say to the LLMs, here are the set of tools that we have. We have tools to help you with Cost Explorer. We have a set of tools to help you with infrastructure and all sorts of things. And should you need to use them, they're available and they'll fetch the data. So that the LLM will talk to the MCP server, which in turn it could run a function to fetch some data and bring it back in a special, let's call it an API, or it could actually initiate a different agent that will run in the background. So all sorts of things. But when you think MCP, think about extending your agent or AI capabilities with specific knowledge or specific tools. Okay, so now let's move to the MCP server by AWS. I think it's by AWS. They're using the logo. It's AWS Labs, probably them. Okay, so the idea is that you have all different types of tools, different types of MCP servers that you have to deal with different things on AWS. So you have, let's see the tools. You have tools for infrastructure and development. So you have an MCP server for dealing with Terraform or EKS. And let's see, for example, EKS. It provides coding assistant for resource management on real-time cluster state visibility. These MCP server means that you will be able to chat with AWS to actually investigate, to control things. Well, sometimes, usually it's read-only, but you will be able to interact. The LLM, the coding agent or your chat agent will be able to actually talk to EKS, which could be very powerful to debug stuff in production, right? Or if you have different questions. You have one for CDK. Let's see what else. So by the way, I got to this because I wanted to create, and hopefully that will be in the next video, on how to connect your AWS Bedrock knowledge base to an LLM so you can get more information, your own custom data, extending your data on AWS Bedrock knowledge base, and then consuming it from an MCP. So I'll show a different example in a different video. And then for data and analytics, you have MCP servers to work with all these interesting technologies. Let's see what the DynamoDB gives you. You can tell it, you can ask, please create these resources for me if you do things ad hoc. So again, this is a way for you to debug. Think about this. If you're running runbooks, if you have an incident or something and you need to fix something real quick and you don't want to go and fetch everything by yourself and you're just starting to explore the incident, this could be really useful, right? You're chatting with the AI. You're giving it all the information that it has. Developer tools, you have... Look at that. You have so many tools that you can use. I've only used a couple of them. Oh, and AWS IAM MCP. That could be super, super helpful. I hate IAM. I hate it. I hate it. This could be a game changer. We have cost in operation. You have things to help you with Cost Explorer. You know how bad extracting information from the AWS Cost Explorer is. It's truly annoying. And if you can just ask questions, and we'll do that in a few moments. I haven't used it, so I'll be doing this kind of live. And one other thing that I've used is I created diagrams. I'll show you how to do it. So anyway, that is super cool. Next, let's see how to install this tool. So the whole thing about MCP is creating a standard way to work with these tools, to make these tools available for your AIs. And usually the structure is this. You have the MCP server, you have a file, you have a manifest file, a JSON file that kind of exposes all these, configures all of these MCP servers, and we'll use it in a few seconds. I'll show you how to do that on Cursor. But if you look here, you can see that there are examples for Amazon Q, Kiro, Cursor, Windsurf, VS Code. And you will see that it's pretty much the same. It's just the file name that changes. So anyways, to install it, you will need to install UV by Astral. It's a package manager thing. Don't worry about this. Just set it up. I installed it on my Mac with Homebrew. And now what you have here in the JSON, you can see that each MCP server, they divided it. It's not just a single MCP server. There's a thing with the number of tools that you have under a specific MCP server. So you have different MCP servers. Now, the MCP server in this example, and most of these, will come in two forms, I think. So one of them is just a command. You run the UVX, and then it gives the arguments for the actual MCP server. And then you pass on environment variables to set it up. But the thing is, it is a command that runs on the local machine where the agent runs. And you can also use Docker containers. So I think you'll see an example later of how to actually... Yeah, you can run it as a container. So this is the example of how you run it under a container. So you don't have to have this installed on your server. I'm going to use actual commands, and let's set this up. In Cursor, you have two ways of actually setting up MCPs. So the first one is a global one. You can add an MCP server here. If I click on add, it will open a JSON similar to what you've seen before. And it will allow me to add something that will be available for all projects, but I don't want to open this one. I want to create one for this project and this project alone. And for that, we'll create an mcp.json file. I think that's the correct place to put it. And then we'll be able to see it here as well. The first easy example that I want to show you is the MCP server for creating AWS diagrams. Actually, I didn't come with too much expectations of this, but this kind of blew my mind. What you need to install it is just set up this, add this as the MCP. Windows installation, you have all these different examples here. And what I have to do to install it, so let me add this to the project. Again, I'm adding it to on the project level. Let me add this here. I also add the AWS profile. I'm adding this because new MCP server detected. You can already see that we detected this MCP server. Let's enable it. So I added this. I know for other tools you do have to use it. I don't think you have to use it for this one. Let's see if we see it here. Yeah, we see that we have. Okay, so this is a good example of how MCPs work. We added the MCP server for the diagrams, and you see that we have 3 tools. Now let's ask it to create this diagram for us. So let's do please create a real diagram, a real AWS diagram of this project and deployment. I want to give it the context that I have, and I'm not sure I'm not sure that it will actually work on the first try, but let's see. Okay, needed some love, but it managed to get out of the hole by itself. Let's see the diagram. Okay, we have an internet gateway. We have the elastic IP. That is right. We have the actual thing. We have the SSM agent, parameter store. And you can see that we have the actual architecture in here. Now, sometimes it will give you a slightly different diagram. I can ask it to create a more detailed diagram of what's happening inside the instance, but this is cool, right? I can actually go over and see the whole process. I can see the deployment. You can see that in this specific project, by the way, this is this is an internal tool. This is not a client project, so no, don't worry about this. And we have GitHub Actions that works with co-deploy on ARM architecture that pushes some things, and it seems to be working, right? We have on ECR, we have this. This is a cool diagram. This is a simple project, but look at this. Had I come to a project and ask for a diagram, I'll usually get get them to say that they're working on one. They have one that is very dated, and that there's this one person that can actually draw it for me, but he's on vacation. I don't need it. I have the AWS MCP. This is really cool. Now, let's move on to a different example. This is something that I haven't tried before, so let's see how it works. So now let's take an example and see the AWS. Oh, by the way, we have a pricing one. Service catalog is this could be cool. I hate the pricing calculator that they have. This is cool. But let's try the Cost Explorer MCP server. Okay, so let's take this example. We have this and set it up on cursor. Okay, so where was my MCP for this project? Let's do this and add a new MCP. Why are you annoying me? Did I not paste it? Okay, sorry about this. Okay, we have this new one. We have, wait. Before I enable this MCP server, you need to enable them. Shut up. This one does need the permissions, I guess. So it needs a profile Let's enable it. No tools, no prompts. Let's see what's going on. Sometimes you have to disable and enable this thing. See? Some naming issues. Let's say that's okay. It has get today, dimensions, get tag value, cost and usage. Let's give it a go. Let's try to create a new chat. I want a fresh context and ask, please. I keep saying please to our overlords, AI overlords. Please use the AWS Cost Explorer MCP. You don't always have to use that. It's a habit that I have from earlier MCP tools. MCP to get the cost for this month. Okay, let's see what happens. This is going to be interesting because we have a lot of credits to use, so we're technically not paying for much, but let's see how that will go. Get to yeah, you can see that. So let's say we have credits. We are using credits. How many credits? Okay, because we are using credits, let's see if it can calculate how much usage we'll have out of these credits. Okay, so it says how much is forecasted that we'll use. So let's ask it another question. Where do we spend most where do we spend most of our money on AWS? Let's see if we have any good insight on that. And there we have it. We can see that we are spending a lot of money on EKS. That's 40%, and then compute, which I guess is related to EKS as well. See, we have a lot of data coming out of this. Now let's try one last thing, one last MCP server by the AWS MCP. And I'm really intrigued and trying to see if we can use the pricing server. Okay, let's do this. So I have... Okay, now it picked up on the new server. Let's see. I don't get this one. Okay, we have pricing server. Oh, it analyzes the Terraform project, get the pricing, oh, this is really cool. Generate cost report. Okay, use the AWS pricing MCP server to see current spend of this project. And let's do. Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm asking it to analyze the cost for this specific project, and I'm giving it the infrastructure folder where we have the Terraform files. Let's see what it comes up with, and then I'll ask it how much will it cost to actually add a second server and an ALB. Gives me an estimate. Nice. This is not an expensive project, but let's say how much more would it cost if we add a second server NLB. Okay, and you can see an estimate. Now think of how powerful this could be if you add it to your CI, right? You can do things like estimate how much each incremental addition or deploy or change to Terraform or your infrastructure as code will cost. You can estimate for production as well. The developers, you can give engineers the possibility to actually chat with the AI before implementing a new feature or adding more infrastructure. So this is really powerful. There are a lot of things you can do with this. And of course, a disclaimer, this is an LLM. Basically, it could come up with some hallucinations. So you need to be wary of that. You need to keep that in mind still. But this is really cool. Give it a try, install it. It's really quick. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to use this MCP server with AWS Bedrock knowledge base to actually get some meaningful insights from our own data. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel. Let me know if you think this is cool. Leave a comment and see you next time.